Yes. So in this session, we'll discuss about the concept of HTL. So HTL is nothing but it is one of the language which is given by Adobe. So which was published by Adobe in order to regarding the AEM development. Okay. So HTL is nothing but HTML templating language, which is a subpart of HTML. So we can easily learn, but it is only to the Adobe. So we can't use them in other technologies. It is only particular to Adobe. So Adobe has introduced this HTL, so which is a new name. Okay, so previously it was we used to call them as slightly, but the new name they have given for the framework is HTL, HTML templating language. So it was introduced by Adobe in the AEM 6.0 version, and it is strongly recommended to use from 6.3 version. Okay, so why we need to go with the so previously if you are trying to generate a component as well with the help of direct option, so at the time if an automatic file is generating with the help of the node name, right? So any component name dot JSP. So JSP file is generating. So previously in the AEM development, so for the front end purpose also, so we'll be using the JSP language in order to develop the front end as well. So this JSP is nothing but Java server pages. Okay. So with the help of this JSP, we used to implement the logic inside the components, and we used to write the logic with the help of the JSP only. So, but they have introduced the language HTL, and from the HTL, so we'll be using HTL in order to develop the component. So why HTL? Because so with the help of the HTL, we will have a clear separation between the business logic layer and the presentation layer. So what does it mean by the presentation layer, which will be viewed by the user? Okay, so all the front end part is called as a presentation layer, and whatever the back end part we'll be doing is an uh, backend part. Okay, so which is the business logic layer. So with the help of HTL, we can have a clear separation between front end part and the back end part, which is the business logic layer as well as the presentation layer. And while going up to the HTL as well, so if you want to develop something, if you want to develop a component using JSP, so as Java server pages, so this Java language is important in order to get the JSP. Okay, so if you want to develop a component on JSP language, at that time you need to have the Java knowledge. Okay. So without Java knowledge, we cannot develop a JSP. We cannot get the JSP. Okay. So but when it comes to HTL, so no Java knowledge is required. So without any Java knowledge, we can just write the HTL as well. So that it will gives permission to the front end person to easily learn the HTL without knowing about the backend technologies. So in this case, so whenever you are going for the HTL, so which will reduce 25% of your time. Okay. So if you want to develop using JSP, suppose it is taking 50%. So the same task we can complete inside HTL by using 25% of its time. So that as the time is saved, the cost will be saved and the budget is also saved on the project. Okay. So that's why in most of the cases, they'll be going for the HTL only. So if you are going for the HTL, so then you'll have all these advantages. So you'll have security, development efficiency, and then a reduced cost. And Java knowledge is not required, which is the main part. So without the Java knowledge, we can directly implement this HTL. Okay. So how we are implementing HTL is, so HTL is an expression language. Okay. So if you want to consider, so how we'll be considering is, okay. So right now, if I go for anything. Okay, suppose if I try to create a tag inside HTML, so I'll create, so div or h1 I'll create, so h1, and then class is equals to some class name. Okay, so I'll give it as text, and then here whatever the content you want to write, you'll write the content, right? So uh, so HTML templating language. So this is how we'll write the normal HTML. So normal HTML. So what does this HTML contain? So this HTML content is contain two things. Okay. So first one, it contains code, as well as it contains the content. So code is nothing but this HTML tags is a code, and then this custom attribute is one code, and then here H1 is also one code. So here whatever the thing you see as a text, this is called as an content. So in the AEM, what is the main advantage of going for Adobe Experience Manager is we can order dynamic content to the components. Okay. So in order to read the dynamic content from the content node, so here we have to use this expression language. So with the help of this expression language only, that is dollar curly braces. So with the help of this expression language only, we can inject the dynamic content into the component. So dollar curly braces is an expression to read the dynamic content. So right now consider here we are writing the title. Okay, so this HTML templating language is a title. Suppose if I want to read this title from the content node, so how will write? So we'll be writing as dollar curly braces and properties dot title. So we'll be writing like this. So whatever the value, whatever the content we are reading, so that content will be replaced instead of this static content. Okay, so then it will make the then we will make the content as dynamic. Okay, so now in this case, so Adobe has defined a lot of attributes. Okay, so what does it mean by attributes first? Okay, suppose if I want to divide this statement, so this statement can be divided into three parts. Okay, so first one is H1, and then a second one is class, and third one is the code. So whatever the content you are saying, so this will be the third one we can go for. Okay, so these are the three things we can specify when it comes to uh, dividing this particular line. So now whatever you see here, so this H1 and then this class is a part of HTML library, right? So H1 is a part of HTML library and class is called as an attribute. So what is H1? H1 is a tag. And then what is a class? Class is an attribute. So this class or this attribute, these both are the part of HTML library, standard HTML library. Okay. So now this particular thing is called as a content which can be changing according to the user requirements. So in this case, so now whatever the attributes we are having, so we can also make the custom attributes. So right now this class is an predefined attribute. Okay. Suppose if I want to create a custom attribute, so then how I'll create? So then we'll be creating with the help of data hyphen and then whatever the text you want to specify, any attribute name. So data hyphen author and then a data hyphen text. So this is the recommended format in order to create an custom attribute. Okay, so data hyphen attribute author, data hyphen text, data hyphen Karthik or any name, data hyphen AEM. So this is the recommended format in order to create an custom attribute in the HTML. Okay, so based on this particular thing, Adobe has defined 13 different custom attributes. Okay, so we have total 13 different custom attributes and one of the custom attributes is so data hyphen, so it is a custom attribute, right? So data hyphen sly hyphen test. Okay, so data hyphen sly hyphen test is one custom attribute, and then so data hyphen sly hyphen is same for all the Adobe's custom attribute, and then the last one changes. So use is one custom attribute, and then repeat is one custom attribute, or list is one custom attribute. So repeat is one custom attribute, and then text is one custom attribute. Okay. So after text we are having unwrap. Unwrap is one custom attribute, and then we're also having template. Okay. So template is one custom attribute, and then call is one custom attribute, and then set is one custom attribute. So these are the different types, different custom attributes which Adobe has introduced as a part of HTL. Okay. So now we'll be discussing one after other. So before discussing one after other, so first we'll discuss about the dynamic content delivery with the help of this expression language, that is dollar and curly braces. So what does they support inside this dollar and curly braces, and what does it mean by dollar and curly braces? Okay. So first of all, so whenever you are going for this dollar and curly braces, it is used to inject the data. Okay. So to inject the data from the content node, we have to use this expression. So inside this expression, it will support only three things. Okay. So we can create the variables, and then we can also accept a Boolean data type, number data type, and string data type. So only these three data types are allowed inside the expression language, which is Boolean, number, and string. Suppose if I want to create an array as well, so array of string, array of number, and array of Boolean, we can create. Only these three data types are allowed. And when it comes to operators, we can use all of these operators. We can use logical operators, logical not, logical and logical or. And then ternary operators. So ternary operator, whenever the condition is true, so it will execute the true value, and then it will execute the false value. So what is a ternary operator? Uh, Ternary operator.
If the
So in order
condition is
to,
true, the first value, immediate value will be executed.
so,
Otherwise, the
so
last value.
yeah. So in order to represent if else condition in shortest format, we can go for the ternary operator, right? So when the condition is true, so then true value will be executed. Otherwise, the false value will be executed. So when it comes to comparison operator, assignment operator equals to, not equals to, greater than, less than, greater than or equals to, less than or equals to, and then grouping parenthesis. So if you want to write multiple conditions, okay, so when in case of we want to write multiple conditions, so then with the help of grouping parenthesis we can do that. So we can write multiple conditions. And in when it comes to the relational operators, we have one relational operator which is in. Okay, so in is one relational operator. So if you want to check whether the values are present or not, so then with the help of the in relational operator, we can do that. So it will also allow all these operators, different types of operators it will allow. So that is logical operator, ternary operator, comparison operator, grouping parenthesis, and relational operators. And these three data types it will allow: Boolean, number, string, and array. Okay. So now we'll use these operators and we'll try to see an example. Okay. So as a part of this one, so we'll be using the first custom attribute, which is data hyphen sly hyphen test. Okay. So this data hyphen sly hyphen test, we can simply also name it as if else condition. Okay. So it is like an if else condition, that is nothing but a control statement, right? So which will control the flow of execution of a program. Okay. So now this is this data hyphen sly hyphen test, we can simply compare as an if else statement in Java. So how to use this one? Okay. So where we'll write the logic inside the component. So we can write the HTL inside the component.html file. Okay. So now if you go for our project, okay. So this is the component we are working on, right? So Marvel form.html. It is available. Okay. So now we have a content in also here. Okay. So right now we'll see the first attribute, which is data hyphen sly hyphen test. Okay. So data hyphen sly hyphen test is equals to dollar curly braces. So we have to specify that inside the double quotes. Okay. So dollar curly braces, because it is an attribute, right? So every time the attribute value will be specified in the double quotes. So now data hyphen sly hyphen u test is equals to dollar curly braces, and I'll write some statement. So properties dot. So we'll read a value from the dialog. So content, items, columns, items. So here we have an heading. So which it is storing the data in the title. So that means we have to call with the help of title. Okay. So properties dot title. So now what this data hyphen SLY hyphen test will return is, it either return the Boolean value. Okay, so either true value or false value it will return. So right now what I'll write is, so title is author. So now what we are doing is, so whenever this particular property has been authored, okay, so that is properties dot title has been authored. So at that time, this condition will return true value. Okay, so it will check whether this property has been authored or not. So if the property is authored, so then it will return true value. So whenever it is returning true value, so then it will execute the statement. So otherwise, it will not execute the statement. Okay. So now if I refresh the EN page, so now it says title is authored. Why? Because so we have given the title authored. Suppose if I try to remove this title and if I click on OK, so now the component has been moved. So I can't see any text. Why? Because we have just not authored the title. So we have written a condition that, so whenever the title is authored, so then only this condition will print. Okay, so not only just writing some random text or writing some messages. Suppose if we want to inject the data as well, so we can inject the data. Okay, so how will I inject this? So now whenever this title is authored, so at the time I want to print the description. Okay, so in order to print the description, so dollar curly braces properties dot description. So we can read the description. We'll also read one more value as well. Okay. Now it is printing the description and the true value because the title has been authored. Suppose if you want to compare the value, okay. So now properties dot title is one thing. So we can also use the comparison operators, right? This expression language suppose the comparison operators, which is equals to, not equals to, greater than, less than. Okay, so those are comparison operators. So now whatever the value that is entered, so if that value is equals to such, so then only it should render the value. Okay, so if the title is authored and whatever the value inside the title is equals to such, so then only this statement should be executed. So otherwise the statement should not be executed. Okay, so now why it is not executing? Because let me delete this one. Okay. So now why it is not executing? Because the value is a different one. So once the value is written here, and if that value is equals to the string which we have specified, so then only it will render the value. That means it will execute this one. Because this contain whenever this container attribute is returning true, so then only the resultant fields will be executed. Otherwise, they'll not be executed. So right now we are searching whether the value is equals to such or not. Suppose if you want to use, if I want to check whether the value is not equals, so then we have to use the symbol of not equals exclamatory, and then equals to is the symbol of not equals to operator. Okay, so now if the value is not equals to such, so then only it will render the content. Right now the value is equals to such, right? So that's why it is not rendering the content. So if you want to specify any different value, so then we can specify the different value, so that is not equals to operator. And then we can also check the size of the string as well. Okay, so right now we are checking whether the what is the value that is authored, right? So right now if I want to check the size of the string, so that means whenever the title is authored and if the value of the title, okay, so how can I check the length of a string? So with the help of the length member, right? So then properties dot title dot length. So properties dot title dot length is greater than 3. Okay, so then only it should render the value. That means the string should minimum contain three characters. Okay, so then only it will render the value. If it contains more than three, it's greater than, right? Okay, so now when we are using less than, so then it is returning. So properties dot title dot length is less than three. No, that's it. So it is not a method, it is a member. Okay, so it is not a method. So properties dot length is less than three, so then it is returning the value, but it is more than three. Writing to this should be because now the value is greater than three, so that's why it is not returning the data. Okay, suppose if it is less than three, so then it should return, but length is so specify that in the single quotes. So use the parenthesis with the value, not with the total one. Okay, so properties of title. So when you use like this, then it will length as an string. Okay, so because it is a string value, right? So string value should be specified inside the single quotes. So now the value is greater than three, so that's why it is returning the value. So now when I make it less than three, so then it is not returning the value. So if I want to use equals to, greater than, or equals to, okay, so if it is equals to three as well, it will render the content. Okay, so now if you want to use the less than, so then this is the symbol of less than. Okay, so less than or equals to. The property should be less than or equals to 3. So when we are using less than or equals to 3, so then minimum characters should be entered is, so maximum characters should not be greater than 3. So it should be less than 3 only. So now this is how we can use the comparison operators. So after the comparison operators, we also have multiple things. Okay, suppose if you observe an example here, so whenever now here we are checking the length. Okay, so title is longer than 3 or title is equals to or longer than 0. So we can also create one property called as a max length. Okay, So now this is one field we can create inside a Sling model. So which will be a part of business logic. And whenever the user enters the data, that is JCR title, and then we can compare that value. So right now we are specifying a static whether either 3 or either 0 or either 5. We are specifying a static number. Okay. So if I want to get the dynamic as well, so then we can create one variable inside the Sling model, and then we can get that variable with the help of this AEM component dot max length. So AEM component is nothing but the object which we have created customly. Okay. So it is not something which is predefined. So this is something we have created customly. So AEM component dot max length. So this is a variable which is coming from Java, and we are comparing those two variables, and then we are writing that value. Okay, so that is how we can implement the comparison operators. So after the comparison operators, we have the relational operators. So this relational operator is nothing but in. In is one relational operator. So what is the use of this in relational operator is we can check the values in a string. Okay, so I can check whether a specific character is available in the string or not, or from an array of values I can check whether a specific value is there or not. So then with the help of the relational operator we can do that. So relational operator is used to check the cases in the string, or else normally also we can check. So now how can I write this relational operator is, okay, so let me remove this one, and now I'll specify if search is in. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, so now I'm checking whether this value, okay, inside the title string, I'm checking whether this value is available or not, which search is value is available or not. So if the search value is present, so then this condition will return true. Once the condition returns true, so at that time, these two will be executed. Okay. If you observe here, so there is no value called search in the title. So when the search value is not there, so then it will return the false. So not only search, suppose if I add a search software solutions. Okay, right now it is a string, right? So from the string, it will just check only whether the required value is there or not. Okay, so if any part of the case, if this value is present, so then it will render the data. So that is the in operator. So which we can check for a value inside a string, and then we can also check for the value inside an array as well. Okay, suppose if I go there, content Marvel USEN. So Marvel form. So check any string value is present or not, array value is present or not. Okay, so we'll create one array value, maybe hello. Hello is one array I'll be creating. So array means we have to select as multi because more than one value can be there. So I'll specify AEM and then HTL. So these are the three values I'm storing inside this string. So I'm directly entering the content inside the content node. So it should not actually do like that. Okay. So for example, I'm showing. So now I'll check whether from the multiple values inside the array, I'll check whether the value is present or not. Okay. So inside properties dot hello, I want to check whether this HTL value is there or not. So if the HTL value is there, it will return. So we'll also print those values as well. Okay. Okay. So now it is printing all the values. Suppose inside that array, whatever the array we have created, suppose inside this array, if I remove this HTL value, okay, because now the HTL value is not containing, so at that time it will not return the value because in operator is checking whether the value is present inside the array or not. So with the help of the in relational operator, we can check whether the values are present inside an array, or whether a string contains a specific character or not. We can check with the help of in relational operator. So after that, here we are having HTML format. Okay, so what does it mean by HTML format is, So inside so whatever the expression language we are using, so inside that expression language, it will accept only three variables, right? So it will accept number, and then it will accept the boolean, which is true or false value, and then it will accept a string. Okay. So apart from these three things, we can't perform anything. So we can, for the strings, we can use one more method called as an member. We can use one member called as a length. So in order to find the length of the string. Okay. But suppose if I want to perform string concatenation. Okay, so string concatenation means combining two string values, right? So we'll not have any plus operator, or will not have any concatenate method in order to attach two values of a string. So with the help of the formatter only, it is possible. So to if you want to get a string supplied in an expression, or if you want to perform string, or if you want to come if you want to attach two values of a string, so then with the help of the formatter only we can do that. Okay, so how to use this formatter is, so I'll just come here, and then I'll attach two values. Okay, so dollar curly braces, and now what is my requirement is I want to add this what we are having small fields. Okay, so I want to get the title. Okay, so title value I want to attach with the description. Okay, so now in order to do that, so how we can do that? So simply we can write and then component of one. So this is nothing but a placeholder. Okay, so whatever the value, these are the placeholders. Okay, so now when we specify the value at the rate format, so at the rate format is equals to, and then here we'll specify the value. I want to read the data, right? So first as we are having two values, we have to go for an array. Properties dot title I will read, and then one more value is properties dot description. Properties dot title and properties dot description. So now if I go in the en page and refresh, so it will attach the title with the description. So component of such software solution is the title, and then this is nothing but the description. Okay, so with the help of this formatter, we can attach two strings, we can concatenate two strings. Suppose if I don't want this component, so simply we can specify the placeholder as well. So this is one custom value we are specifying. Okay, so we can attach the string as well. So we have removed that string. So now if I refresh, so it is attaching two things. So search software solutions is the title, and then L'Oreal Ipsum is the description. Okay, so if I'm having one more value, so then you will specify one more placeholder, because I'm getting three values, right? So then you have to specify the third placeholder. Okay, properties dot image. Now it will, in the third placeholder, it will add the path of the image as well. Okay. I missed a single quote. So now at the end, it is adding the path as well. Okay, so with the help of the placeholders, we can concatenate strings. We can concatenate the values of a strings. And after that, if you want to support as well, so in some cases, if you want to inject the date, so date is not supported. If we observe here, so JCR created is one property, and then JCR last modified is one property. So these are the values, these are the date values. Okay, so we cannot also inject the dates in the expression language. So now if I want to read the date, so with the help of the formatter only, we can read the date. So dollar curly braces, and if I try to read the date, so properties dot, I can just call JCR column created. So that is one metadata, so which AEM will add internally for everything which we create. Okay, so right now if we go there, so this properties dot JCR column created is a date property. So this date property is not able to printing. Why? Because it does not support the date. If you observe here, so this is a date, and the HTL does not support the date property. So then with the help of formatter, we can do that. So we have to specify in which format we want to get. Okay, so then I want to get in years first, and then month, and then date. Okay, so date should be small. And then what is the value I want to get? So I want to get this date value. So at the rate format is equals to properties dot jcr colon created. So it will call the date now. So in whatever the value we have specified, so in that value, it will print the date. So 25th, 8 and 12. Okay, so that is how we can print the date format. So and then in the formatter only, so it does not support the uh, whatever we say, so it does not support the decimal numbers as well. Okay, so it will only support the whole numbers. So if you want to print the decimal numbers as well, so we can print the decimal numbers. So how to print the decimal numbers? With the help of the formatter only we can print. So dollar curly braces. So now if you go for a number field, what is this? We have added number, right? 40 field number. Okay, so now in order to get the number in the decimal field as well, so we have to go for the formatter only. Okay, so consider I want to get the number first. Okay, so number first, and after that the decimal value we are specifying. I want to get the decimal value. So in that case, we can go for hashtag dot 00, and then what value I want to get. So I want to get the number. So at the rate format is equals to, then here you have to specify the value you want to read, or else first we'll specify an static value. So 40. Okay, so now it is printing 42.00. So this 42 will be replaced. This hash will be replaced by the value which we are specifying. So not only specifying static, so we can also inject the data as well. Properties dot number. So we can inject the data. We can inject the data with the help of the expression language as well. So at the rate 42. Suppose if I inject one more value, so 45. So now it will treat the data as 45.00. So to get the decimal values as well, so we have to go for the formatter only. So these are the different types of formatters we can use. So one is what we have discussed. One is string concatenation, and second one is printing the date, and third one is specifying the number in the decimal format. Okay, so now in this case, it also accepts the grouping parentheses as well. Okay, so we also have ternary operator, right? So ternary operator, how we can specify. So now in this case, I'll just go for an example. So dollar curly braces. So first I'll check for the property. Okay. So whenever you want to check for the property, so that condition we have to specify inside the parenthesis. Okay. So in the parenthesis, I'll check properties dot title is ordered. So then question mark. And then after that we have to specify the true value. So if the properties dot title is ordered, so then it will return the true value, or else it will return the false value. Okay, right now it is returning true. Why? Because the title has been authored. Suppose if I remove this one, so then it will return the false as well. So not only this one. Suppose if I'm writing inside this data hyphen sly hyphen test as well, it will accept. Okay, so it will accept in the data hyphen sly hyphen test condition as well. So if I try to order only, so it will render the data. Okay, suppose in some cases, instead of true or false value, suppose if I want to get a different value, okay, whenever the title is ordered, so then I want to print some custom messages, or I want to do something like injecting the data. Okay, so one more injection I want to perform. Okay, so at that time also we have to go for the grouping parenthesis. Okay, so this injection is also like a condition. So properties dot uh, number will specify. So properties dot number. So whenever the condition is true, so then it will return the number. Okay, so now it is returning 45. The number it is returning. So we can also inject the properties. So we can also inject the data as well. So with the help of the uh, properties properties keyword. Okay, so these are the different conditions we can use inside an HTL operator. So grouping parenthesis we have seen, and then formats we have seen, and then if I want to specify any true or false values as well, so we can directly specify the true or false value. And then now take some frequency. Mm, okay. Okay, so that is about the data hyphen SLY hyphen test, and inside this data hyphen SLY hyphen if condition, so we can use all the operators. So whatever the operators that are available, so we can use all those operators. Okay, so test means it is like a simple if condition, and after that here Adobe has provided a lot of global objects. Okay, so right now if I go here, so if you observe here, so properties is one object we are using, right? And then so what, how does this properties object is created, or how does this page properties or inherited page properties? So these are all the global objects whatever you see here. So all of these things are global objects. So how these global objects are working and how they have been created. Okay, so right now if we go for a page, so how the page structure will look. uh, So now if I go for this request, so that is content US, content Marvel, US and EN. So this is the content node which is executing, right? So now if I go for this content node, and now in the down we'll have this one. Okay, so content Marvel, US and EN. So now what it will do is, so while executing each and every node, so it will have one chain node. So for US we'll have the JCR colon content, and then for the Marvel as well, we'll also have the JCR colon content node, right? So we have all these content nodes. So JCR colon content, and then for the parent page, you'll have the JCR colon content, and for the child page as well, so you'll have the JCR colon content. So now in this case, what happens here is, so Marvel JCR colon content. So this is the flow of execution. So first the content node will be executed. After the content node, it will go inside this Marvel, and then it will go inside this UN, and then it will go inside the EN. Okay, so now whenever we are executing this one, so whenever we are using the dot html extension, so at that time Apache Sling will internally create a lot of objects. Okay, so while executing this en node, en jcr content node, so what it will create, so inside en jcr content, so it is executing the component, right? So Marvel form form is the component is executing. So for the Marvel form component, so whenever it is executing the components, okay, so at the time it will create one object called as an properties. So for everything, it will create an object called as an properties. So in order to read the data from the component node or the content node of the component, so with the help of the properties objects, which is a predefined object we are using. Suppose while executing the en page, it will also create one more object, right? So which is nothing but page properties. So it will create one more object called as an page properties while executing the JCR content of the EN page. While executing the US page, so which is a parent page, right? So while executing the US parent page, it will create one more object, that is inherited page properties. So with the help of this inherited page properties, or with the help of this page properties or the properties objects only, we are reading the content. We are reading the content from the content node. Okay, so you have to understand this inherited page properties, and properties. Okay, so these are the three nodes that are executing. So that's why you can read the content. Okay, suppose if I want to read the data from this component, so how can I read from this content node? I want to read the data. So then with the help of properties objects we are reading. So with the help of properties object we are reading. Suppose if I want to read the data from this enjcr content, so this jcr content I want to read the data. Okay, so maybe this cq colon last modified by is one value we are having. Okay, so I want to read this value from the jcr content, or else we'll have one value, right? So jcr colon title is one value we are having. Suppose if I want to read this value, so how can I read this one? So what object it will create? It will create the page properties object while executing the JCR content of the page level. Okay, so page properties dot JCR colon title. Okay, so now it is returning en. Okay, so once it is returning en, suppose now consider if I delete this JCR title value. Okay, so now I'll delete this JCR title value, and if you refresh the page, so output will be nothing because the JCR title value is not there. So that's why it will not return anything. But in this case, what I want is, so I want to check. Okay, so if the JCR title of this page is not available, I want to go to the parent page and fetch the value. Okay, so if the parent page also not available with the value, so then I have to go to the Marvel page and fetch the value. So in this case, if you want to get the data from the parent pages as well, so here we have one more property which is inherited page properties. So go just add as an inherited page properties dot JCR title. So now the output would be JCR title of the EN page. So what is the JCR title of the EN page? Sorry, US page. It is US. Suppose if I go there and if I try to add the value inside the EN JCR content, so JCR colon title, and then I'll specify here Marvel hyphen en. So now this is the JCR title. So once I've added the JCR title, if I try to refresh and check, so it will print the Marvel en page. Okay, we are using inherited page properties object only. Okay, okay, but it is still going for the en page only. So whenever we are using this inherited page properties, so if the value is present in the content, the current content node, it will return it. Otherwise, it will go to the parent content node and then it will fetch the whatever the value we want to specify. So whatever the value we have specified, it will fetch that value. So these are the different global objects which HTL has given. So properties, page properties, and inherited page properties. We also have some configuration called as an design dialog. Okay, so which gives a orderable content at the template level. So if you want to go for that, so then with the help of the current style is one, also a property same like properties. Okay, so it is also one object same like properties object which will read the data from the design dialog. Okay, and after that if you want to get any data about page related information, right now we are only concentrating on component. Suppose in some cases in the sling models, so at that case I want to retrieve the data about page related informations. Okay, like inside this properties we'll enter the data. So if you want to read this page related informations, so then with the help of this current page object and resource page object we can do that. Okay, so this is one API which Adobe has predefinedly given. And then after that, here we are having a page manager as well. So page manager is nothing but in the backend, if I want to perform any actions on the page. Okay, so in the backend, if you want to get the current page, so then with the help of the page manager, we can do that. So and then so these are the different block statements we are having. So hyphen data hyphen SLY hyphen use include resource list test unwrap repeat text attribute elements templates and call. So right now we'll see what is meant by data hyphen SLY hyphen use. Okay. So data hyphen SLY hyphen is nothing but use is nothing but if I want to create an objects. Okay. So for the Java classes in the backend, we cannot create an object for the Java classes. Okay, so if you want to create an objects inside HTL, so then with the help of data hyphen SLY hyphen use, we can do that. Okay, so with the help of this one, what we can do, we can create an objects inside the HTL. Objects can be created the HTL. Okay, so we can create the objects inside the HTL with the help of data hyphen SLY hyphen use. So how can I create? So I'll show you for a model class. Okay, suppose we are having a model class. Okay, so which is an custom Java class we are creating. Suppose this model class data, if I want to inject inside my component, so then we can call like this. So div data hyphen SLY hyphen call. Okay, so data hyphen SLY hyphen use dot object. So here we'll be creating the object, and then it is a custom attribute, right? So we have to specify this one. So here what we have to specify is we have to specify fully qualified class name. So which is nothing but package name dot class name. So these two things we have to specify. Package name and class name we have to specify. So that is how we can create an object for the Java classes. Okay, so if you want to do for the .html files as well, so we can also do, if I want to create for the .js JavaScript files as well, we can also create for the .javascript files. Okay, so right now for our HTML file, if I want to create form.html. So this is how we can create an object for the HTML file. Suppose for the JS file, so then you will change the extension from .html to .js. And after that, we are also having data hyphen sly hyphen include. Okay, so what does this mean by data hyphen sly hyphen include? Okay, so if I want to so what we can do is, suppose if I want to include one HTML file in another HTML file. Okay. So right now we are having only single HTML file. So if I go for my component, how many HTML files we are having? Only one HTML file will be having, and then this .html file will be executed automatically whenever we inserted the component. Suppose if I am having one more HTML file. Okay, so now I am having one more HTML file which is Marvel custom.html file. So just copy the name I've created a note. So Marvel form dot custom HTML dot file we are having. Okay. So now my requirement is whenever I'm executing this Marvel form component, I want to execute both the .html files. Okay. So both .html files I want to execute. So then how we can do that? So in order to check whether it is executing or not, I'll just add one statement here. That's it. Okay. So Marvel form custom HTML file is there. So now if I go to the sites console or if I go to the page, so at that time it will execute, it will not return any result. Okay. So refresh this page. Okay. So it is not including the other HTML file. So in order to include the other HTML file, so we have to call the, we have to, so from where will be executed automatically, Marvel form.html will be executed automatically. So that means I have to call inside this one. So in order to call, you just use data hyphen sly hyphen include instead of data div values as like. So include is equals to, so here we have to specify the dot html file. Okay, so this is the dot html file I'm having. So simply we'll be specifying the dot html file. So Marvel form custom dot html. So now if I refresh this page, so then it is returning the file. So whatever the data I'm having, so all the data I can specify inside this Marvel form dot custom HTML file. So that is how we can include the one HTML file inside another HTML file with the help of data hyphen sly hyphen include. Okay, so which is used to include one HTML file inside another HTML file. in another HTML file. So after that, right now we are including the HTML files only. Suppose in some cases, if I want to include the component, okay. So if I want to include the entire component instead of another component, so then we are having one more custom attribute which is called as an data hyphen sly hyphen resource. So with the help of data hyphen sly hyphen resource, so which we can include the components as well as content resources as well we can include. So right now inside my Marvel form.html Marvel form component. So I want to include the button component. So here we'll having the button. Okay, so button is one component we are having. So inside this Marvel form, I want to include the button component. So then you can go for this one like data hyphen sly hyphen resource. So data hyphen sly hyphen resource is equals to, so inside this resource I want to add this component. Okay, so simply you can just use button here. We have to follow some syntax. Okay, so at the rate resource type is one attribute we have to pass. At the rate resource type is equals to, in the single quotes we have to specify the path of the button component. So in the Marvel components button, the path will be there. So you can just go there and then you can specify the button. Okay, so app Marvel components and button is the component we are having. This will not endless view that resource type. Okay, so we have forgot the expression. So dollar curly braces you have to specify. Okay, so right now if you observe here, so inside the content tree you can observe. So inside the Marvel form it has added one more component here. So which is button component. So if I try to execute this one, so we'll have the option to order the button component as well. Okay, or else specify one more node here. So button. So when I'm specifying button here, so at that time what happens is, so now for this button component, whenever we are trying to store the data, okay, so if you order means we have to store the data in the content node, right? So in order to store the data in the content node, we are specifying one value. So inside it will create one more node, which is button node it will create, and inside the button node, it will add that particular data. So if you observe now I have an option to order the button component as well. If I go for this content tree, so inside the content tree as well, so a button component has been added inside the Marvel form. So whatever the text you want to specify, we can specify link to IF page. Okay. So anything. So we can specify links and then we can specify any content with the help of the button. And once if I store this one, so right now it has created an button. So in order to include one component inside another component, we can go for. So if you store, if you want to check how the content will store inside this Marvel form.html, so one more node will be created, which is button node will be created. So with the help of this button only, it is executing. So whatever the content that is related to the button, so that content will be stored inside this button node. If I refresh this one, so inside the button node, it will store that content. We have given the title as well as we have given the link. So these are the two properties we have configured inside the button. So that is how we can include one component inside an other component. So that is data hyphen sly hyphen resource. component. So these are some of the custom attributes which we have seen, and the remaining we'll be seeing in the next session. Okay.